We see objects all day, from the time that we open our eyes in the morning to the time we sleep at night. We see the things around us. We observe their colors, shapes, sizes. In the daytime, the light of the sun is sufficient for us to see the objects around us clearly. But in the evening, when the sun sets, it becomes dark and we can't see things easily. What do we do then? We light a candle or switch on a bulb or a tube light. When the light from these sources falls on an object and then travels towards our eye, we see the object. So, light enables us to see objects. We can therefore say that light is a form of invisible energy which gives us the sensation of sight. Sources of light. Any object which emits light is called a source of light. The sources of light can be grouped under two categories. 1. Natural sources of light. Those sources of light which occur in nature are called natural sources of light. 2. Man-made or artificial sources of light. Those sources which have been made by man are called man-made sources of light. For example, candles, oil lamps, earthen lamps, lanterns, gas lamps, electric bulbs, fluorescent tubes, torches, tube lights, etc. are all man-made sources of light which enable us to see the things even when sun is not there. Luminous and non-luminous bodies. Those objects which give out their own light are called luminous objects. The luminous objects are also sources of light. For example, sun, stars, candle, bulb, etc. Those objects which do not give out light on their own are called non-luminous objects. These become visible only when light falls on them. For example, chair, car, tree, man, etc. Moon, Earth, and other planets are also non-luminous bodies. They shine only when sunlight is reflected from their surfaces. Hot and cold sources of light. The sun is the brightest and hottest source of light for us. Fire always gives out heat. A glowing bulb is hot. What if we go near the stars? Will we feel the heat? Yes, stars are also hot, but because they are very far from us, we don't feel their heat. However, some sources of light are cold as well. A firefly, a tube light, a CFL are cold sources of light. Transparent, translucent, and opaque objects. When light falls on a given object, the resulting effect is different for different objects. Transparent objects. Those materials which allow the light to pass through them are called transparent materials. The materials like glass, air, cellophane sheet, window panes, glass tumbler, test tubes, and pure water are transparent objects. We can see through such objects clearly. Translucent objects. Those objects which allow only some amount of light to pass through them are called translucent objects. Butter paper, oiled paper, smoked glass, tissue paper, etc. are translucent objects. We cannot see clearly through these objects. Opaque objects. Those materials which do not allow any light to pass through them are called opaque objects. We cannot see anything through an opaque object. Book, wall, cardboard sheet, wood, etc. are all opaque materials. Light travels in straight line. Shine a torch in a dark room. Can you see a circle of light in front of you? Move the torch to your right. You will now be able to see objects on your right, but not in front of you. Why do you always see only the objects directly in front of the torch? This is because light travels in a straight line. Have you ever seen the light from the cinema projector traveling to the screen in front of it? Are there any other ways to find out whether light travels in a straight line? The property of light traveling in a straight line is called rectilinear propagation of light. Rays and beams. You have learned that light travels in a straight line called a ray of light. A ray can be shown by a straight line with an arrowhead showing the direction in which light is traveling. A collection of rays is called a beam of light. Shadow. You must have seen your shadow follow you everywhere. You might have also seen shadows of plants, animals, and other objects. We have studied that opaque objects do not allow light to pass through them. What happens when light falls on an opaque object? Since light can't pass through it, the space behind the object appears dark. This is called a shadow. The dark patch formed in the space behind the opaque object where the light is partially or wholly cut off is called a shadow. Conditions for the formation of shadow are: 1. There must be a source of light. 2. There must be an opaque object which obstructs the path of light. 3. There must be an opaque screen on which a shadow can be formed, as it cannot form in air. You might have observed that your shadow is always black. Moreover, it changes its length and direction during the day. This is because the position of the sun changes with time during the day. The formation of shadow is a direct result of the rectilinear propagation of light. An opaque object casts a dark shadow. Translucent objects form a weak shadow, and transparent objects do not cast any shadow at all. A point source of light produces a shadow of total darkness. If the source of light is bigger, the shadow is not well defined. It then consists of two regions. 1. Umbra, region of total darkness where no ray of light enters. 2. Penumbra, a region of partial darkness surrounding the umbra. Some light reaches this region. The nature and shape of a shadow depends on: 1. The shape of the object. 2. The size of the source of light and that of the object. 3. The position of the source of light and the distance between the source of light and object. Pinhole camera. A pinhole camera is a simple application of rectilinear propagation of light rays. Take a rectangular cardboard box or a shoe box with one end open and the other covered. Paint it black from inside. Cover the open end of box with a smooth, thin tracing paper using a tape. This acts as a screen. Make a hole with a pin at the center of the opposite closed side. The light will enter the box through this hole. Stand in a dark room and point the hole towards the objects outside a window. The objects should be in bright light. You can see images of trees or people outside the window on the tracing paper screen. However, all the images will be upside down or inverted. They will also be diminished in size. A pinhole camera can be used to measure the height of objects like a building or a tree. By measuring the height of the image, the distance of image from pinhole, length of the box, and the distance of the object from the pinhole, the height of tree can be calculated as. A pinhole camera can also be used to take the image of the sun. Take care not to look at the sun directly, as it may harm your eyes permanently. During eclipse, the change in the shape of the sun can be easily studied through a pinhole camera. Remember, the image of the sun will be inverted. Mirror and reflection of light. When the light falls on an object, it can 1. Pass through the object, transmission of light. 2. Get absorbed by the object, absorption of light. 3. Get bounced back or reflected back by the object, reflection of light. The objects having polished and shining surfaces reflect most of the light falling on them. A plain mirror is a thin, flat, and smooth sheet of glass having a shiny coating on one side. This coating is of silver metal and is protected by a layer of red paint. The silver coating makes the mirror shiny on the other side. The shiny surface gives maximum reflection of light. The red paint behind the silvered surface of mirror protects the silver coating. A mirror changes the direction of light. A mirror forms erect images. Regular and irregular reflections. The surface of a mirror is very smooth. Therefore, if a beam of light falls on it, the entire beam is reflected in only one direction. This is called regular reflection. However, the surfaces of most of the objects around us are not so smooth. When the ray or a beam of light fall on an object with an uneven surface, they get reflected to different directions. This is called irregular reflection of light. Images and shadow. Before we conclude this lesson, we should know the difference between an image formed by mirror and a shadow, which arises because of the difference in the cause of their formation. A shadow is formed because of an obstruction in the path of light by an opaque object, whereas an image by a plain mirror is formed because of the reflection of light by the surface of mirror. Periscope. It is the instrument used in submarines while they are under water to view a ship above the surface of water. Kaleidoscope. The kaleidoscope is a toy used for producing beautiful colored pattern. It is made by taking 3 mirror strips and joining them to form a triangle. Difference between shadow and image formed by plain mirror. Shadow. 1. Size of the shadow can be larger or smaller than that of the object. Image. 1. Size is same as that of the object. 2. always black irrespective of the color of the object. 2. Shows the details of the color of the object. 3. Can be obtained on a screen such as a floor, a wall, etc. 3. Cannot be obtained on a screen. 4. Does not show lateral inversion. 4. Shows lateral inversion.